dust on the shoulder, because at 26, apparently my big adult dream had become sanding antique tables alone after dinner. And there she was, Maya Whitaker, my childhood best friend, the girl who used to climb the oak tree behind my parents' house faster than any boy in the neighborhood, the girl who taught me how to skip rocks, cheat at Monopoly, and pretend I wasn't scared when my parents fought. The girl I hadn't seen in almost 3 years, except in photos where she looked polished and far away, standing beside people who wore linen and smiled like they'd never cried in a grocery store parking lot. Now she stood under the porch light with rain running down her cheeks, one hand gripping the handle of a navy suitcase, the other pressed against her ribs like she was holding herself together. Her hair was darker wet. Her mascara had surrendered completely. She wore a cream-colored dress under a tan coat, and even soaked through, even trembling, even looking like she had walked out of the worst night of her life. My first stupid thought was, she's still the most beautiful person I've ever known. Then she looked at me with those brown eyes I used to know better than my own street address and whispered, "Caleb, I didn't know where else to go but you." That was the sentence. That was the crack in the wall. My name is Caleb Hart, and until that moment I thought I had done a pretty decent job of becoming a man who didn't wait for anyone anymore. I restored furniture for a living in a little workshop behind my rented duplex in Asheville. I liked quiet mornings, strong coffee, and things that could be fixed if you were patient enough. Chairs with broken legs, tables with cigarette burns, old dressers nobody wanted until you sanded away the ugly and found the grain underneath. People were harder. Maya had taught me that without meaning to. We grew up 2 houses apart. Her mother worked nights at the hospital. My father left when I was 14 and came back just often enough to disappoint us all over again. Maya and I became each other's emergency contact before we even knew what that meant. At 17, I almost told her I loved her on the hood of my truck behind the bowling alley. At 18, she kissed a college guy named Parker at a graduation party, and I swallowed the words like a nail. At 23, she moved to Charlotte for a marketing job and started calling less. At 26, she showed up at my door with a suitcase. I didn't ask questions first. That's something I'm still proud of. I stepped aside. "Come in before you flood the porch." Her mouth twitched, just barely. Still bossy. Still dramatic. "Caleb." "What?" "You brought weather and luggage. That's dramatic." She let out something that almost became a laugh, then rolled her suitcase over the threshold. The second she passed me, the old familiarity hit so hard I had to grip the door. Rain, vanilla shampoo, cold air, and Maya. Not the girl from old memories. Not the smiling woman from social media, her. Real. Shivering in my hallway like the past had found a body and knocked. I closed the door behind her. My duplex was small but warm. Living room to the left, kitchen straight ahead, one bedroom down the hall. Half the furniture was mismatched because most of it had been rescued from curbside deaths. Maya looked around at the walnut coffee table, the green armchair, the crooked stack of books beside the couch. "You made this place look like you," she said. That a compliment or a warning? A compliment. She brushed wet hair from her cheek. "It feels steady." The word landed softer than it should have. I cleared my throat. "You're freezing. Bathroom's down the hall. I'll get you towels and something dry." She looked down at her dress like she had forgotten she was wearing it. "I'm sorry, I didn't think." "Maya, you're allowed to drip on my floor. It's laminate. It's seen worse." "Like what?" "My cooking." There it was. A real laugh, small but alive. I went to my room and grabbed sweatpants and an old navy hoodie from the dresser. When I came back, she was still standing in the hallway, staring at a framed photo on my bookshelf. Us at 16. Maya sitting on my shoulders at the county fair holding 2 cotton candies like trophies. I was squinting up at the camera, sunburned and pretending I wasn't thrilled to have her knees braced against my chest. "I can't believe you kept that," she said. I held out the clothes. "I can't believe you thought I'd throw away proof I once had upper body strength." Her fingers brushed mine when she took the hoodie. It wasn't much. A simple touch. Cold fingertips against my knuckles, but it knocked the humor right out of my mouth. Her eyes lifted to mine, and for one strange second, the years between us thinned. I wasn't 26 in a rented duplex. She wasn't soaked and shaking with a suitcase. We were 17 again, standing too close in my parents' driveway after midnight, pretending the quiet didn't mean anything. Then she looked away first. "I'll be quick," she said. "Take your time." While she changed, I made tea because coffee at midnight felt like a crime against both of us. I put honey in hers because I remembered. I hated that I remembered. I loved that I remembered. When she came back wearing my hoodie with the sleeves hanging over her hands, something in my chest folded in on itself. She looked smaller. Not weak. Never weak. Maya could make a grown man apologize with one eyebrow, but softer, like she had finally set down a bag she'd been carrying too long. She sat on the far end of the couch. I handed her the mug. "Careful, it's hot." She took it with both hands. "You still do that. Make tea? Warn me about obvious things. You once burned your tongue on soup and blamed the bowl. I was 9. You were loud." She smiled into the steam. "I missed this." The sentence was quiet. I sat in the armchair instead of beside her because some lines were invisible but real. "You missed being insulted? I missed being known." That one got through. Outside, rain tapped the windows. Inside, the lamp threw warm light across her face. I noticed the little scar near her eyebrow from when she fell off my skateboard at 12. I noticed she wasn't wearing earrings. I noticed her left hand curled around the mug like she was hiding it. "Maya," I said gently, "what happened?" She stared down at the tea. "If I tell you, you're going to look at me differently. I've seen you eat peanut butter with a spoon out of the jar after losing a spelling bee. I was emotionally fragile. You spelled necessary with 3 C's. It needed them." I smiled despite myself. Then her face changed and the smile left both of us. "I left," she said. "Left where?" She swallowed. "A dinner." "What kind of dinner?" "The kind with speeches." My pulse slowed. "Maya." She set the mug on the coffee table with careful hands. That was when I saw it. The ring. A diamond on her left hand, bright and wrong in my living room. I stared at it for half a second too long, then forced my eyes back to her face. She noticed. Of course she did. Maya always noticed everything I tried to hide. "I didn't come here to make you uncomfortable," she said. "You didn't." "Caleb." "Okay, maybe a little." Her mouth trembled, but there was a trace of that old fire in her eyes. "Still honest when it hurts. Only with people who know where I keep the good mugs." She looked at me then. Really looked. The way she used to when she was trying to decide whether I was joking or bleeding. "I thought about calling you so many times," she said, "but then I'd tell myself you'd moved on. That you probably had someone. That maybe I was just being selfish because you were the only place in my life that ever felt like breathing." My hand tightened on the armrest. There are things a man wants to hear, and there are things he is not prepared to survive hearing. "Maya," I said, quieter now, "are you safe?" "Yes." She nodded quickly. "I'm not in danger. It's not like that." Relief came first, then something more complicated. "Then what is it like?" Before she could answer, her phone buzzed inside the pocket of my hoodie. She flinched. Not fear exactly. Guilt? Exhaustion? Dread. She pulled it out and glanced at the screen. The name lit up in the dim room. Graham. Her thumb hovered, but she didn't answer. I looked from the phone to the ring, then back to her. Maya closed her eyes. "I'm supposed to marry him tomorrow," she said. For a while, neither of us moved. Rain kept tapping the windows like it had something to say. Maya's phone buzzed again in her hand, lighting her face from below, and I stood there like a man who had just opened a door and found his entire past, standing in the rain wearing an engagement ring. "Tomorrow," I repeated. She nodded once. "You're getting married tomorrow." I was. That word mattered. Was. I held onto it like a railing. The phone stopped. A second later, it buzzed again. This time, she turned it off completely and set it face down on the coffee table. I didn't leave him at the altar, she said, if that helps. Oddly specific comfort, but sure. I left him at the rehearsal dinner. I sat back slowly. Maya. I know. Do you? Yes, Caleb, I know how bad it sounds. No. I leaned forward, elbows on knees. I mean, do you know what you want? Not what your mother wants, or Graham wants, or the 200 people with hotel rooms want. You. She looked at the ring on her finger. I want to stop feeling like I'm watching someone else live my life. The words came out flat, but her eyes filled immediately. She blinked hard, furious with herself for almost crying. That was Maya, too. Brave enough to run, stubborn enough to resent the tears. I moved without deciding to, not all the way to her, not touching yet, just from the armchair to the couch, leaving a careful cushion of space between us. You can cry, I said. I hate crying. I remember you called it face leaking. It is face leaking. Scientifically accurate. Her laugh broke in the middle and turned into a sob. Then she covered her mouth with both sleeves of my hoodie, and I stopped being careful. I reached for her. She came to me like she'd been waiting for permission, folding against my side, forehead pressed to my shoulder. I put one arm around her, light at first, but she made a small sound and clutched the front of my shirt. So I held her properly. The years did not vanish. They settled around us. Childhood summers, missed calls, things unsaid. The night behind the bowling alley when I almost ruined everything by being honest, and then ruined myself by staying quiet. Her hair was damp against my jaw. Her body shook once, twice, and then steadied. I'm sorry, she whispered. Don't apologize for coming here. I didn't know if you'd want me to. That hurt more than I expected. I looked down at her. Maya, I wanted you here before I understood what wanting meant. She went still. So did I. There it was. Not the whole truth, but enough of it to change the air. Slowly she lifted her head. Her face was inches from mine, eyes wet, cheeks flushed, my hoodie drowning her shoulders. She looked at my mouth, then back to my eyes. Caleb, she said, and my name sounded different than it ever had. Warning? Question? Memory. I should have moved away. She had a ring on her finger, a fiancé calling, a life cracking open in real time, but she was the one who reached, not far. Just her hand, sliding over mine where it rested on the couch cushion. Her fingers were warm now. I thought about you, she said. My chest tightened. When? At stupid times, grocery stores, red lights, whenever someone said something funny and I knew you would have made it worse. A tear slipped down and she smiled like she hated it. When Graham proposed, I thought, Caleb would make a joke about the waiter clapping too hard. He would have deserved it. He did. He startled an old woman. I breathed out a laugh. Her fingers curled between mine. I thought that meant something was wrong with me, she continued, that I could have a good man kneeling in front of me and still hear your voice in my head. Good man. I looked away first this time. Maya, I can't be the reason you don't marry him. You're not. Are you sure? She tugged my hand until I looked back. There was a steadiness in her now, fragile but real. You're the place I came after I finally admitted the reason. And what's the reason? She swallowed. I don't love him the way a woman should love the man she's marrying. I nodded slowly, even though something selfish and dangerous opened in me. And me? I asked before I could stop myself. Her breath caught. I hated myself for asking. I needed the answer anyway. She looked at our joined hands. You were always the person I measured warmth against. That sentence did more damage than a kiss would have. I leaned back against the couch, staring at the ceiling, trying to find one responsible bone in my body. We need rules. Maya blinked. Rules? Yes. Oh no. What? You only make rules when you're scared. I also make rules for board games because some people steal from the bank. I was investing. You were 9. I had vision. I pointed at her, grateful for the banter because my heart was trying to climb out through my throat. Rule 1, you sleep in my bed. Her eyebrows shot up. I sleep on the couch, I added quickly. Coward, I froze. Excuse me? For the first time all night, Maya's smile was almost herself. Tired, watery, but wicked at the edges. Nothing. No, don't nothing me. You called me a coward while wearing my hoodie and fleeing a wedding. I said what I said. I narrowed my eyes. Rule 2. We do not make major life decisions before breakfast. Marriage included? Especially marriage. Running away? That one you already did. Her smile faded but didn't disappear. Rule 3? I looked at her hand still in mine. We are honest. Painfully if we have to be. She nodded. Okay. And rule 4. I should have said something noble. Instead, I brushed my thumb lightly over her knuckles and said, if you ask me to kiss you tonight, I'm going to want to say yes. So don't ask unless you mean it. The room went utterly quiet. Maya's eyes darkened, not with fear, with recognition. She glanced down at her ring and shame crossed her face. I released her hand gently. That wasn't fair. I'm sorry. No. She pulled the ring off. My lungs stopped working. She held it in her palm, staring at it like it belonged to someone else. Then she set it on the coffee table beside her silent phone. I'm not asking you because I'm panicked, she said, or because I need comfort, or because I want to punish him. Maya? I'm not asking at all. She turned toward me. I'm just telling you that when you said that, I wished I could. There are moments when a man learns exactly how much restraint costs. I nodded once. Then we wait. Her expression softened. You always were annoyingly decent. Not always. Sometimes I'm just slow. She leaned into me again, but this time it wasn't collapse. It was choice. Her shoulder against mine, her head finding the familiar place just below my collarbone. I rested my cheek against her hair. For a few minutes, that was enough. More than enough. It felt dangerously like the beginning of something I had stopped letting myself want. Eventually, I made up the bed with clean sheets while she stood in the doorway, hugging herself in my hoodie. You don't have to hover, I said. I'm not hovering. You're absolutely hovering. I'm supervising. Your corners are terrible. My corners are functional. They're tragic. I threw a pillow at her. She caught it against her chest and laughed, real this time, and the sound filled my little bedroom like sunlight had somehow gotten in at midnight. Then she looked around the room, my worn quilt, the stack of woodworking magazines, the photo of my mother on the dresser, and her voice went quiet. You built a life. Sort of. No. She touched the bedpost, thumb grazing the smooth maple I'd shaped myself. You did. I'm proud of you. I didn't know what to do with that, so I fussed with the blanket. Maya stepped closer, close enough that I could see the tiny gold flecks in her eyes. Caleb. Yeah? I'm sorry I disappeared. I met her gaze. I'm sorry I let you. Her lips parted. For one suspended second, we stood on opposite sides of every almost we'd ever had. Then she rose on her toes and kissed my cheek. Not my mouth. Just the corner of my jaw, soft and deliberate, lingering long enough to make my hand tighten around the blanket. Good night, she whispered. I turned my face slightly, and for half a heartbeat our mouths were almost aligned. Almost. Good night, Maya. I slept on, the couch with my arm over my eyes, listening to the rain stop. At 2:13 a.m., her phone lit up on the coffee table. One text filled the screen. Graham, I know where you went. I stared at the text until the screen went dark. I know where you went. 4 words and my little living room suddenly felt too small. My first instinct was old and stupid. Stand up, lock every door twice, find my boots, become the kind of man who could solve emotional devastation with a hammer. My second instinct was Maya, not protecting her like she was helpless, not making myself the hero of a story she hadn't asked me to star in. Just Maya. I picked up her phone and carried it down the hall. The bedroom door was half open. She'd left the lamp on, and she was asleep on her side, one hand tucked under her cheek, my blanket pulled up to her chin. For a second, I forgot the phone. She looked peaceful in a way I hadn't seen since we were kids, sprawled on my mother's living room floor after bike rides, sunburned and sticky from popsicles. The same little crease sat between her brows, like even in dreams she was arguing with someone. I knocked softly on the doorframe. Maya. She stirred. Hmm? Your phone. Her eyes opened, unfocused at first. Then she saw my face and sat up. What happened? I handed it to her. She read the message. The room changed. Not dramatically. No screaming, no panic. She just went very still, which was worse. How would he know? I asked. She rubbed a hand over her face. My mother, probably, or one of my cousins. Everyone knows about you. That landed strangely. Everyone? A tired smile flickered across her mouth. You were my entire personality until I left for college. Pretty sure your entire personality was correcting people? And you were usually wrong. I was charmingly approximate. She looked at the text again, then set the phone on the nightstand like it weighed too much. He won't hurt me. You said that. I mean it. Graham isn't violent. He's controlled, proud. He'll want an explanation, maybe an apology, maybe a way to make it look less humiliating. And what do you want? She looked up at me. There it was again. The question that mattered. I want one night where nobody tells me what I owe them. I leaned against the doorway. Okay? Okay. Then tonight you owe nobody anything, not even me. Her expression softened in a way that made my heart misbehave. You say things like that, she whispered, and then expect me not to want to kiss you. My hand tightened around the doorframe. Maya. I know. Rules. She lay back slowly, but her eyes stayed on mine. I'm not asking. I'm just being painfully honest. I laughed under my breath because if I didn't, I might walk across the room and ruin every decent intention I'd ever had. Go back to sleep, I said. Bossy. Dramatic. Her smile followed me all the way back to the couch. I did not sleep much after that. By morning, the storm had rinsed the whole world clean. Sunlight pushed through the blinds, bright and shameless, catching on the diamond ring still sitting on my coffee table beside 2 cold mugs of tea. I was in the kitchen burning the second pancake when Maya appeared in the doorway. She had rolled the sleeves of my hoodie to her elbows. Her hair was loose and dry now, falling around her face in soft waves. She looked like she belonged there, which was dangerous information to learn before coffee. Is that breakfast? She asked, or a small kitchen fire. Good morning to you, too. She came closer and peered into the pan. Caleb. It's rustic. It's black. Charcoal is rustic. It's carbon. You always did have expensive vocabulary. She nudged me aside with her hip. Move. I raised both hands. You're a guest. I'm a survivor of your cooking. You said my place felt steady. This is part of the charm. No, this is evidence. And just like that, we were cooking together. Not solving the wedding, not decoding Graham's text, not calling anyone yet. Just standing, shoulder to shoulder in my tiny kitchen, making pancakes like 2 people who had done it 100 times instead of never. She poured batter in neat circles. I sliced strawberries because I could be trusted with a knife, allegedly. Her elbow brushed mine. Then her hip. Then she reached past me for the honey and ended up close enough that I could smell my soap on her skin. She paused. So did I. The bottle of honey sat between us, untouched. Her gaze lifted to my mouth. Breakfast first, I said, voice rough. Her smile was slow and devastating. Coward. You are abusing that word. You are earning it. I pointed the strawberry knife at the counter. For the record, I am being noble. For the record, it's very annoying. She turned back to the stove, but she was smiling. We ate on the back steps because the morning was too pretty to waste inside. My yard was mostly weeds and stubborn grass, with the workshop at the far end, and a maple tree dropping shade over the fence. Maya sat beside me, knees pulled up, bare feet on the step below. It felt date-like in the strangest way. Pancakes on chipped plates, coffee in mismatched mugs, her wearing my clothes. Me pretending not to stare every time syrup touched her thumb. She caught me. What? Nothing. You have a face. I do have a face. A guilty one. I was thinking. Dangerous. I looked out at the wet grass. I was thinking this is the best breakfast I've had in years. Her teasing faded. Me too. The quiet after that wasn't empty. It was full of all the things we weren't saying yet. Finally, she set her plate down. I need to call Graham. My stomach tightened, but I nodded. Do you want privacy? She studied me. I want you nearby. Not to speak for me. Not to rescue me, just nearby. That distinction mattered. Then I'll be nearby. She reached over and took my hand. No crisis in the gesture, no panic. Choice. Her thumb moved once across my knuckles. After I call him, I'm going to call the venue, then my mother. Then I'm going to disappoint half of North Carolina before lunch. That's ambitious. I've always been goal-oriented. And after? She looked at me. After, if you still want me here, I'd like to stay one more day. My answer came too fast. I want you here. Her breath caught. I forced myself not to soften it with a joke. I want you here, I said again, because she deserved the full weight of it. Not because you're in trouble, not because you have nowhere else, because it's you. Her eyes shone. Then she leaned across the plates and kissed me. It was brief, barely a press of her mouth to mine. But it was not accidental, not comfort, not almost. Her lips were warm and sweet from coffee, and my entire body forgot the difference between restraint and surrender. Before I could touch her, she drew back just enough to look at me. I meant that, she whispered. I lifted a hand slowly, giving her time to move away. She didn't. My palm settled against her cheek. I know. Her eyes closed for half a second, and she leaned into my hand like she'd been cold for years. Then her phone buzzed from inside the house. We both looked toward the kitchen. The outside world, rude as ever. Maya exhaled. That will be him. You don't have to do it this second. Yes, I do. She stood, then looked down at me with sudden nervous humor. How do I look? In my hoodie, like a scandal. Good. Maybe it'll give me courage. You don't need my hoodie for that. She smiled, but her fingers trembled when she picked up the phone from the coffee table. I stayed in the kitchen while she stood in the living room, near enough to see her face, far enough to let the words be hers. She answered on speaker without asking me to leave. Graham. His voice came through calm and tight. Maya. Where are you? I'm safe. That isn't what I asked. I know. She closed her eyes, then opened them. I'm at Caleb's. Silence. Then, of course you are. I looked down at the counter. Maya didn't. I'm calling off the wedding. Maya, don't be ridiculous. You had a panic attack. Everyone is worried. Come back and we'll handle this privately. No. One word. Quiet. Unshakable. The woman on my couch last night had been breaking. This woman was rebuilding in front of me. Graham's voice cooled. Is he there? Yes. Did he talk you into this? No, and if you need to believe that to hate him instead of listening to me, that's your choice. My heart did something painful and proud. Maya, he said, softer now. I love you. She swallowed. I saw it hurt her. Not because she wanted him, but because she wasn't cruel. I know you do, she said. I'm sorry I let it go this far. But I can't marry you. Another silence, then, I'm coming over. She looked at me then, not frightened, asking. I nodded once. Maya straightened. You can come if you need to talk, but I won't change my mind. She ended the call before he could answer. For a moment, she just stood there. Then she turned, walked straight into the kitchen, and wrapped her arms around my waist. I held her close, face buried in her hair. You were incredible, I said. I'm shaking. Still incredible. She pulled back enough to look at me. Kiss me again before he gets here. That was a question and a choice and a challenge all at once. This time, I didn't pretend to be noble. I kissed her in my sunlit kitchen, slow and certain, with her hands fisted in my shirt and my heart making promises my mouth hadn't caught up to yet. When we finally broke apart, she smiled against my lips. Still slow, she whispered. I brushed my thumb over her cheek. Still worth waiting for. A car door slammed outside. The car door slammed, and Maya's hands tightened in my shirt. For 1 second, neither of us moved. Her mouth was still close to mine. Her lips were pink from kissing me. Sunlight caught in her hair, and outside, the man she had almost married was walking up my driveway. You don't have to go out there alone, I said. I know. But you can. I know that too. There was the difference. She took one breath, then another, and let go of my shirt. I missed her hands immediately. "Come with me," she said. "Not in front of me. Beside me." I nodded. "Beside you." Graham stood on the porch in a navy suit with no tie, like he'd left in the middle of becoming presentable. He was tall, clean-cut, handsome in a way that looked expensive. His jaw tightened when he saw Maya wearing my hoodie. Then his eyes moved to me. "Caleb Hart," he said. I opened the screen door. "Graham." We had met twice before. Once at a holiday party Maya's mother hosted where he shook my hand like we were negotiating land. Once at a brewery where he laughed at none of my jokes and called Maya babe until my teeth hurt. Maya stepped onto the porch. I stepped beside her. Graham's gaze dropped to her bare left hand. His face changed. "You took it off." "Yes," she said. He swallowed hard, and for the first time he looked less like a villain and more like a man watching his future leave without him. That made it worse somehow. "Maya," he said quietly, "can we talk without him?" She glanced at me. I started to step back. Her fingers caught mine. "No," she said. "Not because I need permission. Because I don't want to be alone with the version of myself who keeps apologizing until she disappears." Graham flinched. So did I. She had always been good with words. I'd forgotten how sharp honesty could be in her mouth. "I loved you," he said. "I know. I gave you everything." Her expression softened, but her spine stayed straight. "You gave me the life you wanted us to have. I tried very hard to want it too." His eyes cut to me. "And he's what? The backup plan?" My hand curled, but Maya squeezed once. Her warning was clear. Beside me, not in front. "No," she said. "Caleb is not my escape hatch. He is not why I left you. I left because every time I imagined walking down that aisle, I felt like I was betraying myself." Graham laughed once, bitter and broken. "And you came here by coincidence?" "No," she said. "I came here because, when my whole life went silent, he was the person I wanted to hear." The porch went still. I looked at her, but she didn't look away from Graham. That wasn't a line meant to wound him. It was a truth she had decided to stop hiding. Graham's face tightened with pain. "So this was always there." Maya was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Maybe. But I didn't choose it then. I'm choosing myself now." It would have been easy to hate him if he shouted. He didn't. He looked at her bare feet. My hoodie. Her hand in mine. Then he nodded once, as if something inside him had finally cracked clean through. "I'll tell my parents," he said. "You tell yours." "I will. The deposits are non-refundable. I'll cover my half." "I don't care about the money, Maya." "I know," she whispered. For a second, they were just two people standing in the wreckage of a life they had planned badly but sincerely. Then Graham looked at me. "If this is some childhood fantasy, it won't survive real life." I met his eyes. "Maybe not." Maya turned toward me sharply. I continued, because she deserved the truth more than bravado. "But if she wants real life with me, I'll show up for it. Not the fantasy. Her." Her grip on my hand changed. Graham looked between us, then down at the porch boards. When he spoke again, his voice was tired. "Goodbye, Maya." "Goodbye, Graham." He walked back to his car without another word. We stood there until he drove away. Only when the street was empty did Maya sag against the porch railing. "You okay?" I asked. "No." She stared after the car. "Yes." "I don't know." All acceptable answers. "I hurt him." "You did." Her eyes filled. "You're not supposed to agree." "I'm being painfully honest. Rule 3. She made a watery sound that was almost a laugh. "I hate your rules." "You loved Rule 1. I didn't get to share the bed, so no, I did not." That startled a laugh out of me. She looked over and something in her face shifted from grief to warmth. "There you are." "What?" "You smile with one side of your mouth when you're trying not to. I used to count it as a win." I stepped closer. You counted my smiles? Someone had to. You were stingy with them. Maya. Caleb. The porch felt too bright, too exposed, too full of things ending and beginning at the same time. She reached up and touched my jaw exactly where she'd kissed me the night before. I don't want to use you as proof I was right to leave, she said. I don't want to fall into you because it's easier than standing alone. I know. But I also don't want to pretend I don't want you. Her thumb brushed my skin. Because I do. So much it scares me. My chest ached. I covered her hand with mine. I've wanted you for years, quietly, badly. Sometimes nobly, sometimes not. But I don't want to be your hiding place. You're not? Then what am I? She smiled, small and shaking. A very inconvenient man with terrible pancake instincts. That's going on my tombstone. And she stepped into me. The person I choose to be honest with first. I bent my head, touching my forehead to hers. It wasn't a kiss, not yet. It was closer in some ways. We go slow, I said. You keep saying that like I haven't been waiting half my life. My breath caught. She kissed me then, right there on the porch, with the morning warming our shoulders and the last echo of Graham's car fading down the street. It wasn't careful like before. It was tender, but it had hunger in it. Her fingers slid into my hair. My hands found her waist, pulling her close enough that I felt her sigh against my chest. She chose it. I chose her back. When we parted, she stayed in my arms. So, she whispered, what does slow look like? Today, calls, canceled flowers, probably your mother yelling. Romantic. Tonight, dinner. Her brows lifted. Are you asking me on a date while I'm still wearing your hoodie and actively dismantling my wedding? Yes. That's either bold or emotionally reckless. I contain multitudes. She laughed, and I would have ruined my credit score to hear it again. Dinner where? She asked. My workshop. That is not a restaurant. It has a radio and one chair that doesn't wobble. Luxury. I'll order Thai. Now you're speaking my language. We spent the next 5 hours making phone calls. None of it was pretty. Her mother cried, then yelled, then cried again. The venue coordinator spoke in the flat tone of someone who had seen every possible human disaster with centerpieces. Bridesmaids texted, cousins demanded explanations. Graham's sister sent one message that made Maya sit very still before deleting it. Through all of it, she did not hand me the phone once. Through all of it, she kept finding my eyes, and every time she did, I was there, not saving, staying. By late afternoon, she looked hollowed out. I found her in the bedroom, sitting on the edge of the bed beside her open suitcase. Her cream dress from the night before lay folded on top. I don't know what to wear on a first date after canceling a wedding, she said. Traditionally, something with pockets. She looked up. Why? For snacks, emotional support snacks. Her smile appeared slowly. You're an idiot. An idiot with dumplings arriving in 20 minutes. She looked down at herself, still in my hoodie. Can I wear this? The question was soft. Too soft to be about clothing. I leaned against the doorframe. You can keep it. Her eyes lifted. Don't offer things you'll want back. I'm not. She stood and crossed the room. For a second, I thought she might kiss me again. Instead, she slipped her arms around my waist and pressed her cheek to my chest. I'm tired, she whispered. I held her. Then tonight we don't rebuild your whole life. We just eat. And maybe dance in your workshop? I looked down at her. You hate dancing. I hate formal dancing. I like kitchen dancing, porch dancing, possibly workshop dancing. I'm sensing a theme. I like dancing where nobody watches. I brushed my lips over her hair. I'll watch a little. She tilted her face up. You always did. There was no accusation in it. Just memory, just maybe. That night, I strung 2 work lights across the rafters in my shop and cleared sawdust from the old pine table. The air smelled like cedar, varnish, and takeout curry. Maya sat on the only non-wobbly chair, sleeves over her hands again, laughing as I tried to plate noodles like a civilized adult. "You restore heirlooms for strangers," she said, "but cannot operate chopsticks." "I'm artistically gifted, not coordinated." Convenient distinction. After dinner, an old song came on the radio, something slow and scratchy. Maya stood and held out her hand. My heart kicked. "You sure?" "No," she said. "Dance with me anyway." So I did. Between half-finished cabinets and stacked table legs, I pulled her close. Her head fit beneath my chin. Her hand rested over my heart like she was checking whether it was still hers. It was. It probably always had been. We swayed badly, barely moved. It was the best date of my life. Then from the house, her phone began to ring again and again. Maya didn't pull away immediately. She stayed in my arms for one more breath. "Ignore it," she whispered. So I held her closer, and we kept dancing. The phone kept ringing from the house. Once, twice, 5 times. Maya stayed in my arms through every ring, her cheek pressed to my chest, her fingers curled at the back of my shirt. "Ignore it," she had whispered. So I did. Not because the world had stopped needing answers, not because there weren't canceled checks, wounded relatives, and a mother somewhere probably pacing grooves into a kitchen floor, but because for one song, Maya chose peace. And she chose it with me. When the radio crackled into another slow song, she tipped her face up. "Are we allowed 2 dances on a first date?" "I think after a canceled wedding, the normal rules are suspended." "Good." Her mouth curved. "Because your dancing is terrible and I need more time to adjust. My dancing is intimate and understated. You stepped on my foot." That was a relationship test. Did I pass? I looked down at her, at the woman I had loved in pieces across half my life, now standing whole in front of me. "With honors," I said. Her smile faded into something softer. Then she kissed me. Not to prove anything. Not because anyone was watching. Not because she was running from one life and needed another to catch her. She kissed me like she was arriving. I kissed her back like I had finally stopped waiting at the wrong door. Later, we walked back to the house hand in hand. Her phone showed 12 missed calls, all from her mother. Maya stared at the screen, took a breath, and called back. I made tea while she talked. There was crying. There was anger. There was a long silence where Maya looked at me across the kitchen and I mouthed, "You're doing fine." She rolled her eyes, but she smiled. When she hung up, she looked exhausted but lighter. "She said she doesn't understand me," Maya said. I set her mug down. "Do you understand you?" "Not completely." She wrapped both hands around the tea. "But more than I did yesterday." "That's a start." She looked toward the coffee table, where the ring still sat. "I should return that." "Tomorrow?" "Tomorrow." And because we were going slow, because slow had become less like fear and more like respect, I slept on the couch again. At least, I tried. Around 3 in the morning, soft footsteps crossed the hall. I opened my eyes as Maya appeared beside the couch, wrapped in the quilt from my bed. "Everything okay?" I asked. "No." I sat up immediately. She shook her head. "Not bad, no, just I can't sleep." I moved my legs, making room. "Come here." She hesitated. Then she sat beside me, shoulder to shoulder, the quilt falling around both of us. For a while we watched the dark windows turn gray at the edges. "I'm scared," she admitted. I found her hand under the blanket. "Me too." "You are." "Maya, yesterday morning I was a man whose biggest emotional risk was whether a client would hate a stain color. Now I'm falling in love with my childhood best friend while her wedding cake is probably still being refrigerated somewhere." A surprised laugh burst out of her. Then her eyes filled. "Falling?" she whispered. I turned toward her fully. "Still? Again? Always? Pick your word." She touched my face like she wasn't sure she was allowed to have this much tenderness. "I love you, Caleb," she said. The words were quiet. They were not polished. They were not dramatic. They were better than that. They were true. I kissed her hand first because I needed one more second before the rest of my life changed shape. I love you too. She climbed into my lap then, careful and warm, wrapping her arms around my neck. I held her under the quilt as morning reached slowly into the room, and when our mouths met, there was no almost left in it. Only yes. The next few weeks were not a fairy tale. They were better eventually, but not easier. Maya returned the ring to Graham in person at a quiet coffee shop. I waited outside because she asked me to, and when she came out, she was crying. I opened my arms. She walked straight into them. She moved into her cousin's guest room for a while because she said she needed to know she was choosing me from her own ground, not from mine. I hated that. I respected it more. We dated like people trying to build something honest from old roots. Saturday hikes, Wednesday takeout. Slow kisses in my doorway that made every goodbye feel like a negotiation. Arguments, too, about space, about fear, about whether I was doing that noble martyr face again, which I absolutely was not, according to me. According to Maya, I was emotionally constipated but improving. Romance, I learned, was not just the lightning of finding each other again. It was letting her leave at night and trusting she would come back because she wanted to. It was her sitting on the floor of my workshop, helping me sand chair legs while telling me which old dreams still fit and which ones she was done wearing. It was me admitting that I had spent years pretending not to need anyone because needing her had hurt too much. By the following spring, Maya had her own apartment 6 blocks from mine, a new job at a small design firm, and my navy hoodie permanently hanging on the back of her bedroom chair. She said it was joint custody. I said it was theft. She kissed me and said, "File a report." 1 year after the night she knocked on my door, we stood on the same porch in a soft April rain. No suitcase this time, no ring from another man. Just Maya in a yellow dress, holding a paper bag of takeout, smiling at me like I was not a rescue, not a backup plan, not a safe place she had collapsed into. Like I was home she had chosen with both eyes open. I reached behind the door and pulled out a small velvet box. Her smile vanished. "Caleb." "Before you panic," I said, "this is not a proposal." She stared at the box. "That is a very proposal-shaped object." "It's a key." I opened it. Inside was a brass key tied with a ridiculous blue ribbon. Maya blinked. "I want you to have one," I said. "Not because you need somewhere to run, because I want you to come in whenever you want. Rain, no rain. Suitcase, no suitcase." Her eyes went bright. "And," I added, "because you keep stealing my hoodies, and this will save you breaking in." She laughed through tears, then stepped into me so fast the takeout bag crinkled between us. "Yes," she whispered. "To the key? To the key? To the hoodies. To you. To Slow." She kissed me once, then smiled against my mouth. "And someday, if you bring out an actual proposal-shaped object, I'll probably say yes to that too." The rain fell around us, gentle as a blessing. I held her on the porch where she had once arrived, broken-hearted with a suitcase, and this time, when she crossed the threshold, she didn't come because she had nowhere else to go. She came because she wanted to stay. What would you have done if your childhood friend showed up at your door with a suitcase the night before her wedding and said she didn't know where else to go but you? Have you ever experienced something similar? An old love? An unfinished almost? Or someone choosing you after years apart? Tell me your story in the comments. Before I go, I need your help protecting Whispered Maybe. Some channels have been copying our titles, thumbnails, and story style right after we post, and it has started to hurt the performance of our original videos. Honestly, it has been discouraging for us because we work hard to bring these stories to this community. So if you see a channel copying Whispered, maybe in a way that could confuse viewers, please help us report it to YouTube under impersonation. I'll pin the simple steps in the comments. Thank you for helping protect the original stories and this community. If you like this one, leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.